بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. After praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seeking refuge from the evil around us and the evil within us, that there are many characteristics that if the human being is not vigilant, that they begin to impress and change the natural norm of the human being. As we know that the soul, if it's tempted with desires or with corruption, will at times begin to go towards that corruption. As the Quran mentions inside Surah Yusuf, إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي. Indeed, the soul has a yearning desire, inclinations towards sins. And the context of this ayah is talking about Yusuf alayhi salam, whereby that temptation was placed there upon himself or that woman besides him. That if the environment is provided, the soul of the individual, the human being, will be tempted, except for that soul which has the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon it, or has a strong knowledge and understanding. So there are many bad qualities that unfortunately that we are surrounded by as human beings, whether Muslims or non-Muslims, believers or disbelievers. And these qualities and these traits, actually some of them are severe sins, or they open the door to not just another sin, but to many sins. And some of these traits or characteristics eventually, may Allah forbid, can expose the individual to kaba'ir, to among some of the major sins, which we all know are very, very dangerous upon the human being. And some of these sins even become detrimental, not just to the individual, they become detrimental to the wider society as well, if we don't begin to focus upon the removal of these traits and these characteristics and the purification of our heart. These are diseases of the heart that corrupt the heart and corrupt the whole of the mind and the human being. And thus we find inside the Quran the successful individuals will be those individuals يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ, that day whereby our children and our wealth will not avail us, will not protect us, will not rescue us, إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ, except for the individual who comes with a pure, a sound heart. That is the heart that the Muslim should be trying to seek and trying to purify their heart. And that's the Quran, probably the longest oath inside the Quran, inside Surah Shams, some 11 or 12 consecutive oaths. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Indeed, successful is the individual who purifies it, purifies the heart, purifies the soul. And wretched is the individual who does not purify one's heart or one's soul. So to mention that some of these sins open the doors to many other destructive sins or follow on to many other bad qualities. Many of us, we believe that the first crime to be committed upon the earth, the first crime in the heavens was kibr, was arrogance, was pride from Iblis, al-la'in, the wretched, the accursed one. And the first sin upon the earth, as the ulama mentioned, is al-qatl, is killing, is murder. And this is partially true, that this is the first sin, the first major sin upon the earth. But the reason for this killing will help us to understand what comes before that. Before killing, we find the first sin is actually al-hasad, is jealousy. Jealousy led this individual to go and kill his own brother, So thus we find أول الجريمة على الأرض, the first sin that occurred upon the earth is al-hasad, is jealousy that eventually led to the killing, the spilling of the blood of an innocent individual. So if we go back to understand or analyze those ayat inside the Quran which focus upon the story of the killing, some of us may be familiar, but the main thrust of the ayat inside Surah al-Ma'idah, the 5th chapter of the Quran, verses 27 to 31, we find the story of Qabil wa Habil. In the English language, when the Bible translates as Abel and Cain. These are the two sons of Adam alayhi salam. As the Quran mentions, وَاتْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ نَبَأَ ابْنَيْ آدَمَ بِالْحَقِّ إِذْ قَرَّبَا قُرْبَانًا فَتَقُبِّلَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا وَلَمْ يُتَقَبَّلْ مِنَ الْآخَرِ قَالَ لَأَقْتُلَنَّكَ قَالَ إِنَّمَا يَتَقَبَّلُ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Narrate to them the story of the two sons of Adam alayhi salam with truth, with justice, with equity. Because the context of this ayat inside Surah al-Ma'idah is talking about the concealing of passages, the concealing of rules and regulations by al-Yahud, by Ahlul Kitab. So thus the Quran here mentions, narrate to them the true version, the true context of the story of the true two sons of Adam alayhi salam. إِذْ قَرَّبَا قُرْبَانًا فَتَقُبِّلَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا وَلَمْ يُتَقَبَّلْ مِنَ الْآخَرِ. When they both presented their sacrifice and it was presented or accepted from one of them and was not accepted from the other individual, indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts the actions or the good deeds of the pious individuals. So we find that this story, the evil end in consequence of transgression, of envy and injustice. What was the envious behavior and injustice that took place in the story between the two sons of Adam alayhi salam? We find at the time of Adam alayhi salam, when he was having his children, we find that in every pregnancy of Hawa alayhi salam, there would be a male and a female. So that was how the progeny, the lineage began to develop. And we find that the only way that to excel the creation, and this was specific to the time of Adam alayhi salam, is that one brother would marry the sister from another batch. And likewise, the brother from the other batch would marry the sister from the first batch. So this, in today's language, may sound like incest. Incest is when a person gets married to their direct brother or sister. This was specific at that time, was allowed, and once the genealogy continued, then it was prevented. So this was something specific only at the time of Adam alayhi salam. And we find that, we also know that the lineage of the Muslim is carried out from the father and not from the mother. That's according to Sharia. A woman does not change her name. A woman keeps her father's name, because also on the Day of Judgment we raised by the names of our father, etc. So Habil, the sister that he was born with, the twin sister, was his sister, was not very beautiful. And we find that Qabil, his sister was a beautiful sister. So Qabil wanted to marry his own sister. According to the Sunnah, the law was Qabil was supposed to marry the sister of Habil, and Habil was supposed to marry Qabil's sister. But Habil's sister wasn't very beautiful. Qabil's sister was beautiful, so he wanted to marry his own direct sister, not from the sister from the other batch. So we find that Adam alayhi salam, he refused, that this is not possible, and then he told them to present a sacrifice, to offer a sacrifice or offer something towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whoever's sacrifice was going to be accepted, then that individual will be the victorious one. And the sunnah at that time that we find is a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts the sacrifice of the individual, that a fire would come and eat away or burn away the sacrifice that the person has offered. Habil, being a shepherd, brought a sheep as a sacrifice. Qabil, being a farmer, he bought some food produce, some grains. So here ulama extract another lesson, that bring the good things in offering sacrifices and offering charities. The Quran mentions, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You're never going to attain piety until you don't spend of the good things that you love. So here a fire came and it took the sheep, the sacrifice of Habil alayhi salam. So he was given the right to marry the sister. This enraged or increase his jealousy to boil over. So he was not able to accept this judgment. قَالَ لَأَقْتُلَنَّكَ. He said, I'm going to kill you. And this is a natural sunnah that you find at times when people don't have the ability to respond or to give a positive contribution. They become enraged, they become angry, and they begin to carry out their rage. And thus we find that even amongst the companions, when some of them or one of them got angry, the Prophet Muhammad reminded the individual, or I know certain words that the person says that will remove that anger, that rage away from them, is to make ta'awwadh, to say a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Likewise, we find a person is standing to sit down or to move the environment, to perform wudu. All this, normally people get angry because of some form of jealousy. It may be at times other elements as well, but normally find jealousy takes a person into rage until eventually the person said, قَالَ لَأَقْتُلَنَّكَ. Indeed, I'm going to kill you. So you find that jealousy led, as the Quran mentions, about other prophets as well. اقتلوا يوسف أو اطرحوه أرضا يخلو لكم وجه أبيكم وتكونوا من بعده قوما صالحين. So they said, اقتلوا Yusuf, kill Yusuf, and then the whole of our father's face will be exposed to us. And then after that, وتكونوا من بعده قوما صالحين. Why did they decide to kill Yusuf, their own brother? Because they were jealous of him. That was the main reason. Once again, the main reason for them trying to attack Yusuf or to get rid of Yusuf was the jealousy. Likewise, the Quran mentions jealousy led those people, the Quraysh and the disbelievers, led them to try to kill who? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jealousy leads people, as we're going to touch upon, to try to remove, expel, and the removal of people of Islam. People who are trying to call towards goodness, that we find, as the Quran mentions, أَخْرِجُوا آلَ لُوطٍ مِّن قَرْيَتِكُمْ إِنَّهُمْ أُنَاسٌ يَتَطَهَّرُونَ. Get rid of the people of Lut. They are people who want to carry out good actions, where they want to be a purified people. And what is the reason of this? Is it because, as the Quran mentions, قَالَ إِنَّمَا يَتَقَبَّلُ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts the actions of the pious individuals. So people who are trying to seek piety, trying to search towards piety, that some people cannot tolerate, that some people are trying to be purified individuals, or trying to be good individuals, or encourage other individuals to come towards that goodness. And likewise, we learn from this ayah, the criteria of actions being accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is consciousness, is devotion, sincerity, and likewise we find accordance to the sunnah. That is the way the actions, a high proportion of actions being accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if a person has that sincerity inside their heart, inside their mind, inside their actions. What is the response of the threat? So now he's mentioned that I'm going to now kill you. What is the response of the brother? It's something for us Muslims to begin to ponder and to reflect, as the Quran documents. لَإِن بَسَطْتَ إِلَيَّ يَدَكَ لِتَقْتُلَنِي. If you stretch out your hand to try to kill me, مَا أَنَا بِبَاسِطٍ يَدِيَ إِلَيْكَ لِأَقْتُلَكَ إِنِّي أَخَافُ اللَّهَ رَبَّ الْعَالَمِينَ. You stretch your hand to kill me, I will not stretch my hand back out towards you and try to kill you. إِنِّي أَخَافُ اللَّهَ رَبَّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Indeed, I fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the response of the other son. It doesn't say, I'm going to now retaliate, or I'm going to try to kill you back. You stretch your hand out to kill me, there will be no response from me. And we know, as the ulama mentions and works of tafasir, that Habil was far stronger than Qabil. Habil could have easily disarmed him, could have killed him, etc. But he refused. Thus you find, لَيْسَ الشَّدِيد or لَيْسَ الْقَوِي. The strong one is not the one who can wrestle a person and put them down on the floor. The strong one is al-shadid or al-qawi alladhi yamlik nafsahu 'inda al-ghadab. The strong one is the one who can control himself whilst in a state of anger. That is the strong individual. That is the strong personality. Likewise, the Quran mentions sifat of the believers that we find inside Surah Ali Imran. They are those individuals who spend of their wealth in times of adversities, in times of difficulties, times of ease. And then it comes, وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Those who literally, they swallow their anger. And then, وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, they pardon people. وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. These characteristics, we don't seem to somehow unfortunately focus upon them. Yes, we may be punctual in our prayers, adorning ourselves with the sunnah, etc. How about the internal sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How about the internal sunnah that the Quran drives us towards? وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ, those who literally swallow their anger. And after swallowing their anger, وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, they pardon mankind. They have no grudge against any individual. And thus the Quran also mentions, رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لَنَا وَلِإِخْوَانِنَا الَّذِينَ سَبَقُونَا بِالْإِيمَانِ وَلَا تَجْعَلْ فِي قُلُوبِنَا غِلًّا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنَّكَ رَءُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. Our Lord, don't make us have any ill feeling, rancor, any feeling inside our heart towards our brethren who came before us. That should be the way of a Muslim for those people who came before them and those people who come any after us. And some of us still haven't learned the lesson. Our fightings amongst our own selves, Sunnis against Sunnis that we find, no tolerance, patience, people begin to lose control. And at times we found, unfortunately, that people have tried to harm one another or try to even take another person's life in matters which may be tertiary issues or matters of debate that begin to take place. We find in a hadith inside the Bukhari and Muslim, إِذَا تَوَاجَهَ الْمُسْلِمَانِ بِسَيْفَيْهِمَا, if two Muslims, they face one another with their swords, فَالْقَاتِلْ وَالْمَقْتُولِ فِي النَّارِ, the one who is killing and the one who is killed, both of them will be inside the fire. So obviously it's quite clear that the one who's trying to kill should be going to Jahannam, is going towards the fire. How about wal-maqtul? Why the one that's been killed? Why is he heading towards the fire? They posed this question to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The response was given, إِنَّهُ كَانَ حَرِيصًا عَلَى قَتْلِ صَاحِبِهِ. He had exactly the same intention, but the other individual overtook him, that if he had the opportunity, he would have done suit. He would have done likewise, he would have killed him. So that's both of them, al-qatil wal-maqtul, both of them go into the hellfire because why? Of the intention of trying to kill one another. Likewise, we find many young Muslims not able to control themselves, don't know how to channel their physical strength. And it's been documented, unfortunately, many times inside our society of Muslims becoming frustrated, especially young Muslims, of the environment around us, becoming abusive, not towards non-Muslims, becoming abusive towards their own Muslims, becoming physical towards their own Muslims. These are not good characteristics for a Muslim to have. Yes, Muslims will differ, Muslims will disagree, but to become abusive and full of shatam wal la'an, to curse, to revile, wa tukaffiru an-nas wa tufassiqu an-nas, to claim that people are disbelievers or rebellious people or wicked people or evil people, or a person is a hypocrite. This type of language and culture is not from a good mu'min. It's not for us to enter into this realm to classify people as disbelievers, people are fusaq, people are like this, people are like that. Muslims should be vigilant upon such language and using any such words. Likewise, you find in the hadith of the Muslim Imam Ahmad, kun kabni Adam, be like the son of Adam who was slayed. And you read the context of this hadith, that there will come a time that there will be any fitna. A time will come there will be fitna, and the person who is standing will be better than the person who's sitting. The person who's sitting will be better than the one who is walking, etc. And then what should we do? If a person comes and tries to kill an individual, the advice of the Prophet Muhammad, if a person comes even inside your own home, if I'm not mistaken what the wording is, kun kabni Adam, be like the son of Adam who doesn't retaliate towards any Muslim. And likewise, you find if you study the uprising against Uthman ibn Affan in Tafsir ibn Kathir mentioned as well, whereby Uthman gave exactly the same advice, that these people may come and attack me, I will not retaliate against them. So the crux of the matter is what? Why is the person not retaliating? That's what we need to understand. As the son of Adam alayhi salam mentions, Inni akhafu Allah rabbal alameen, I fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So khawfullah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala drives the individual to come to a higher level of iman, a higher level of understanding that the person is not going to retaliate or try to harm the other individual. So possibly some of us have lost the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which causes recklessness and carelessness behavior inside our society. Likewise, you find that you're only going to earn a sin upon your own self. So the son of Adam alayhi salam, he advises his brother, Inni uridu an tabu'a bi ithmi wa ithmika fatakuna min ashabin nar wa dhalika jaza'u dhalimin. Indeed, you only verily I intend to let you draw my sin of killing me. You killing me, you're going to gain that sin upon yourself, and likewise the sin, your own sins that you've developed throughout your life. So that's all you're going to gain. sin upon sin of attacking your own brother. So what was the task of his brother? His task was to advise. He advised his brother, you're going to gain this sin upon your own self. And likewise, we as Muslims, our task is to advise people, to highlight people with evidences from the Quran and the Sunnah, and to tell people to stay away from following their passions and their desires and their own interpretations, which leads into hatred, leads to jealousy, until eventually that we find فَطَوَّعَتْ لَهُ نَفْسُهُ قَتْلَ أَخِهِ فَقَتَلَهُ فَأَصْبَحَ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. So the soul of the other encouraged him and made it fair seeming to him the murder of his brother. He murdered him and became one of the losers. So this thought kept on playing in his mind till eventually he thought that the only thing to do is to kill my own brother. And works at tafsir that we find, and many discussions begin to take place, that how did Qabil kill Habil. Various narrations we mentioned need to be checked, but we only highlight them just so that we can understand the context of what took place. Some of them they write that he began to twist his brother's neck. Others said that Shaitan came along and took a beast or took an animal and placed it on a rock and then began to smash it with a rock. And then Qabil imitated this action and killed his brother in this manner. Likewise, others said that Shaitan just came and whispered that you should now kill your brother. And this is the way of the devil, as the Quran it mentions, to whisper the thoughts. And we are the ones that go and carry out those thoughts our own selves, as the Quran mentions, وَمَا كَانَ لِي عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ. I have no power, no dominance over you. Here, referring to the Shaitan, has no dominance or control of the human being. إِلَّا أَن دَعَوْتُكُمْ فَاسْتَجَبْتُمْ لِي فَلَا تَلُومُونِي وَلُومُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. And you responded to me. So do not blame me, but blame your own self. So the way of Shaitan, الَّذِي يُوَسْوِسُ فِي صُدُورِ النَّاسِ, is to whisper into the heart and the mind of the individual. So he whispered that the only way you can get revenge or retribution is for you to actually kill your brother. That is the only way. So he went out and he carried out this evil action of killing his own brother. And thus we find فَأَصْبَحَ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. He became amongst one of the losers in this world and likewise in the akhirah as well. And thus when he killed him and he went back to Hawa alayhi salam, on the right, as Shaitan went back and said that Qabil has killed his brother, Habil has killed him. Hawa alayhi salam didn't understand what killing is, what was murder, and said that he can no longer eat or drink, he's lifeless. And she said, is that maut, is that death? Because that is death. And thus she began to wail and began to cry. When Adam alayhi salam approached her and said, why are you crying? Why are you upset? She kept on crying and did not respond. And then Adam alayhi salam said, this is going to be the wailing and the crying of the daughters of Adam, that will have this natural characteristic of excessive wailing and crying upon the death of individuals. Wallahu a'lam about the authenticity of this, but you can see that the practice is clearly visible today, that women will become far more emotional over the death of individuals, and that's we find these are the calls of Jahiliyyah, for people to rip their clothing, to strike their cheeks, and to wail, and to become so remorseful about the life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is destined to take away. Likewise, you find فَأَصْبَحَ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. This individual became amongst the losers. There's going to be many repercussions of killing anybody unjustly. It will traumatize you for the rest of your life. And that has been documented. If you study any human being, if you study and you ask an individual who's killed an individual in an innocent manner without any justification, they're going through mental trauma and depression. Many of the soldiers at the moment are returning back from the various wars in the world, etc., that we find, they are suffering from mental depression at the moment, mental trauma. And most of it is based upon killing of innocent individuals. They have flashbacks of killing innocent individuals. Sunnatullahi al-ard. That's the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon this earth. If you kill an individual in an innocent manner without any justification, it will haunt you for the rest of your life. It will become a nightmare that plays on your mind again and again. فَأَصْبَحَ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. You'll become amongst the losing individuals. And this individual became such a loser, such a wretched individual, doesn't even know what to do. After killing his brother, doesn't know what to do. So the Quran mentions, فَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ غُرَابًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a crow, a black bird, a raven, يَبْحَثُ فِي الْأَرْضِ لِيُرِيَهُ كَيْفَ يُوَارِي سَوْءَةَ أَخِيهِ. قال يا ويلتى أعجزت أن أكون مثل هذا الغراب فأواري سوءة أخي فأصبح من النادمين. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a crow, and another crow came, and it killed the crow. And after killing the crow, its corpse was lying on the floor, that the other crow began to scratch in the earth, make a hole, dig a hole, and then push the other bird into the hole, and then covered it up. Here, the brother recognized, this is what I have to do, my dead brother. This is the dafn, the burying of the corpse that we find today. No one knew what to do before. And he felt so remorseful. فَأَصْبَحَ مِنَ النَّادِمِينَ. What a wretched and remorseful individual I am. I don't even know how to bury my own brother. Don't know what to do with him. I had to learn from these two crows that they fought, and one killed the other one. He learned how to bury in his brother. So works of tafsir, he mentioned that this is what began to take place, severe regret and sorrow. He doesn't even know how to bury his brother. And even more severe than that we find what begins to take place. We find the Muslim Imam Ahmad, لا تقتل نفس ظلما. Never kill any soul or any individual without any justification. إلا كان على ابن آدم الأول كفل من دمها. Except for that this first killing that took place, the killing of this blame will go to the first of the sons of Adam alayhi salam. A portion of that blood will be upon his hands. لأنه كان أول من سن القتل. Because he is the first one that initiated the sunnah of killing people. So every time someone is murdered or killed in an unjustly manner, a percentage of that blame goes back to who? To the son of Adam alayhi salam. All of this, likewise we find in another hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, man sanna fil Islam sunnatan hasanatan. Whoever encourages a good action will have the reward of whoever carries out that good action. And whoever initiates or begins an evil action will have a share or a portion of whoever begins to follow that bad action. So as Muslims, once again, we should be vigilant. Many of us could have evil practices or characteristics or bad behavior. We should inshallah keep it to ourselves. Muslim is not one who impresses or encourages other individuals to do bad actions. If you do, then those people carry on that bad action. They could take it to another individual, and it begins to spread. And then you could be sharing a large portion of that blame. Whereas previously it could be only one sin upon my own self. Now I share the sin of thousands of people who are following that practice, and that portion, that sin, returns back to the initiator. And we find, because of that, what was written or prescribed, not just for them, but the rest of mankind, that we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا. من أجل ذلك, because of that action, it's been documented inside the Quran. كتبنا على بني إسرائيل, we wrote it upon the children of Bani Israel, أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس. If you kill any individual without any justification, or fasad fil ard, just seeking corruption, innocent killing, plundering of the wealth and killing individuals, فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا. It's as if you've killed the whole of humanity. That's what the Sharia says. Killing anyone without any justification is as if you've killed the whole of humanity. And likewise the opposite. You save one individual, as if you save the whole of mankind. This is Islamic principle. That's what Islam says. That it's not just a Christian concept, and some people they think about saving an eye for an eye, a blood for blood, tooth for tooth, etc. At the same time, we find also Islam says, you kill one individual, you kill the whole of mankind. You save one individual, you save the whole of mankind. And thus these people, they know these teachings. And thus we have to remind them about these teachings which exist inside their own scripture. The concept of jealousy that exists inside their own scriptures, that these people begin to play upon this action. And even themselves, you find that which has been extracted from what is known as the 7 deadly sins, which has been extracted from the Bible, or the capital vices, the cardinal sins. The 7 deadly sins that you find, which they have extracted from their own sources, that you find are lust, gluttony, greed for food, greed for wealth. Likewise, we find sloth, laziness, wrath, and envy and pride. So the 6th sin being envy, being jealous towards another individual. Inside their scriptures that we find the word envy, the Latin word invidia, what does it carry the meaning of being envious towards another individual? love of one's own good, perverted to a desire to deprive other men of theirs. Envy is, according to them, delight in the misfortune of others. Envy is sorrow for another's good. And the punishment, according to their scriptures, a person who has envious behavior is their eyes to be sewn shut with a wire. That's what should be done, the person who shows envious behavior towards another individual. And we accept and recognize the religious jealousy which has been shown towards Islam, and in specific been shown towards the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As the Quran mentions, يَعْرِفُونَهُ كَمَا يَعْرِفُونَ أَبْنَاءَهُم. They know him like they know their own sons. So sometimes Muslims get all worried about the Danish cartoons and Salman Rushdie's book, The Satanic Verses, and other things that took place. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. There's been a long history of them writing and tarnishing and depicting the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you go and read Dainties in the Inferno, the divine comedy written in the 12th or the 13th century, is whereby this individual, and he paints a picture or he talks about his journey, either through hellfire and likewise through paradise, the divine comedy. If you read through the scriptures, not that I'm encouraging you to read through these scriptures, but sometimes you have to read through elements of this rubbish to understand what people are saying. In there he places Lucifer in the 5th or the 6th ring of the hellfire, and below that he places who? In the 13th century, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. يَعْرِفُونَهُ كَمَا يَعْرِفُونَ أَبْنَاءَهُم. They know him like they know their own sins, like they know their own sons. But it's jealousy that leads them to begin to speak ill against the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Likewise, you find the Quran mentions, وَدَّ كَثِيرٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ لَوْ يَرُدُّونَكُم مِّن بَعْدِ إِيمَانِكُمْ كُفَّارًا حَسَدًا مِّنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِهِمْ. You know, a large portion of the people in the book would want you to return back to what? To kufr, towards disbelief. Why? حَسَدًا مِّنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِهِمْ. The jealousy which exists within their own selves. And that's the Quran mentions, وَلَن تَرْضَ عَنْكَ الْيَهُودُ وَلَا النَّصَارَى حَتَّى تَتَّبِعَ مِلَّتَهُم. The Jews and the Christians will never be happy with you until you don't follow their way of life. So the jealous element that exists, that these people begin to show towards the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Likewise, the Quran mentions, قَدْ بَدَتِ الْبَغْضَاءُ مِنْ أَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَمَا تُخْفِي صُدُورُهُمْ أَكْبَرُ. Hatred is already spilled out of their mouths. Hatred, jealousy towards the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَمَا تُخْفِي صُدُورُهُمْ أَكْبَرُ. But what their hearts conceal is far more greater. So at times it may be beautiful words, good praise, good comments. They're just external comments. وَمَا تُخْفِي صُدُورُهُمْ أَكْبَرُ. What their hearts conceal is far greater than that. So sometimes they may come out with their nonsense, expose their own selves, but that which they conceal inside their hearts is far more greater. And these are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, you find, وَإِنْ يَكَادُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَيُزْلِقُونَكَ بِأَبْصَارِهِمْ لَمَّا سَمِعُوا الذِّكْرَ وَيَقُولُونَ إِنَّهُ لَمَجْنُونَ. These people want to do what towards the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? They want you to slip, to make a mistake, to carry out some grave error, that we can then begin to blame the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. لَمَّا سَمِعُوا الذِّكْرَ. When the dhikr is presented towards these individuals, وَيَقُولُونَ إِنَّهُ لَمَجْنُونَ. They begin to say, he's a mad individual. Just like today, we read some of the comments that they write against the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, begins a person to think, when have Muslims ever written comments about any of the prophets or any of individuals that may be respected in our society? Do you ever find Muslims making such derogatory statements, unacceptable statements, depicting the Prophet Muhammad in an evil manner, using corrupt words towards the blessed Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Likewise, you find the Quran, the response of the Quran mentions, قُلْ مُوتُوا بِغَيْظِكُمْ. Die in your rage. Your rage, your anger that you have, your jealousy that you have, die away, perish away. In the context of this ayat that we find, are you those individuals that begin to show love and affection towards these individuals? These are the individuals that you believe in all the scriptures, and you believe in the scriptures that came previously. But these individuals, they don't want to show any love and affection towards you. So thus the Quran mentions that die inside your rage, the anger and the jealousy that you show towards the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Your jealousy wants to do what? As the Quran mentions, يُرِيدُونَ أَن يُطْفِعُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ. They want to extinguish the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with their mouths. وَيَأْبَى اللَّهُ إِلَّا أَن يُتِمَّ نُورَهُ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not allow that the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taken out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never allow that to take place. وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ, even though the disbelievers dislike this. هُوَ الَّذِي أَرْسَلَ رَسُولَهُ بِالْهُدَى وَدِينِ الْحَقِّ لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ. He is the one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who sent his messenger with the right guidance, with the right way of life, that it may prevail and become dominant over all other ways of life. وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ, even though the mushrikun, the polytheists, and he may dislike this. And thus you find that these people want to block the way of people coming towards that guidance. As the Quran mentioned, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنَّ كَثِيرًا مِنَ الْأَحْبَارِ وَرُهْبَانِ لَيَأْكُلُونَ أَمْوَالَ النَّاسِ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَيَصُدُّونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Or you believe indeed many of the rabbis, the priests, the monks, etc., the religious clerics that you find out there, they want to eat the people's wealth via batil, via falsehood, lying to people, concealing the truth, not letting people come towards that guidance, or changing their affairs, till eventually you find وَيَصُدُّونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. The whole of their life becomes what? To prevent people from coming to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So thus, the modern world at the moment, Islam is a faith which is intolerant, Islam is barbaric, Islam is vicious, Islam is this, Islam is that. Why? وَيَصُدُّونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, to prevent people from coming towards the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, you find any advice you need to us Muslims, any amongst ourselves as well, about the type of jealousy that begins to exist inside our society. Jealousy towards the ulama, jealousy towards people who may have some form of knowledge or some wealth or some possessions that we find. These are bad characteristics that you find at times people begin to show jealousy or just want to dissect or take the mistakes of individuals and exploit them. We are all human beings. Human beings will always err, make mistakes, make misjudgments, make miscalculations, utter wrong words. And it's not for a Muslim to focus upon that evil or that incorrect stance of an individual and just home in upon that. As Ibn Taymiyyah mentioned, that some individuals are like flies. A fly normally comes down upon filth, just picks up the rubbish. Unfortunately, it's harsh to use these words, but some of us Muslims just want to focus upon the mistakes, especially the mistakes of the ulama, and then begin to create a form of jealousy. They are human beings, there's no doubt, but there should be no jealousy that should be shown towards these individuals. They are individuals that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed them with understanding the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, they are fallible, they're not infallible, they do make mistakes. But some of us have gone to the limit of showing jealousy towards those individuals, and the jealousy eventually begins to do what? Speak ill of them, and eventually backbite about them. And as many scholars have written, even risalat, small works, talking about that to backbite against the scholars without any justification is not just backbiting, eating the dead flesh of your brother, it's eating the flesh which has been poisoned on top of that. Because their flesh is very precious, more precious than even our own brethren that we find around us. Likewise, you find jealousy of a person's wealth and possessions. ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. That is a virtue, the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows upon whomever He wants. So why should a person be jealous towards another Muslim of what they possess, of their wealth? As the Quran mentions, أَمْ يَحْسَدُونَ النَّاسَ عَلَى مَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. أَمْ يَحْسَدُونَ النَّاسِ. Why are you showing jealousy towards mankind when we are the ones عَلَى مَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that's given His virtues and His blessing upon those individuals. So why should a Muslim be jealous towards what another Muslim possesses and what they own? And likewise you find their family members, their children that we find. And this is what leads to, we read the whole tafsir of Surah Al-Falaq that we find, we just heard being recited. وَمِنْ شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ. From the envious one, the jealous one, when they carry out their jealousy. So we find that jealousy leads to entering into the world of black magic, in the world of kufr, of killing, etc. Why? Playing upon that emotional feeling of jealousy. The Muslim, the only form of jealousy which is allowed for a Muslim, as you find inside the hadith, that we find, لا حسد إلا في اثنتين. There's no jealousy except for in two things. رجل آتاه الله المال. A man that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed with wealth, وهو ينفقه, who spends it day and night, and a person who's been given the Quran or given knowledge, and they begin to implement that knowledge day and night, or recite the Quran day and night. لا حسد إلا في اثنتين. And here the word is used jealousy. But this is not the real meaning. Even the word is hasad. Al-hasad huna bima'na ghibta. Is aspiration. Imam Nawawi mentions, if I'm not mistaken, inside Riyadh al-Salihin, is aspiration. That you want to be like that individual. Because jealousy means you want that person to lose the ni'mah. Zawalun ni'mah. La yakun indak wala indahu. Doesn't exist with you, it doesn't exist with them. So you want them to lose that blessing. They don't have it and you don't have it. That is the ultimate highest level of jealousy. You don't want that. You want the person to lose their wealth, lose whatever they possess, be taken away from them. And you don't have it as well. Nobody has it. Slightly below the scale that we find, you want them to lose that blessing and you want to have it yourself. You want to possess it. You want to now have that jealousy. That's another element of jealousy that we find. The believer is the one carrying ghibta. You want that person to remain with that blessing, whatever it may be, of knowledge, of wealth, of property, children, family, whatever it may be, the good things, the good health, whatever it may be. You want them to have that blessing and you want to aspire to be like them. They don't lose the blessing, you want to gain or you want to aspire to be like that individual. That's what a Muslim should be. Muslim should be one that thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because all of us have numerous blessings. Blessings are in different disguises and different shapes, so we all have many blessings upon us. But some of us, we can't seem to see those blessings and we think that maybe somebody else places or has a better blessing than we have. And the best blessing that we all have without doubt is al-Islam. As the Quran mentions, Alhamdulillah, alladhi hadana lihada wa ma kunna linahtadiya lawla an hadana Allah. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who guided us to this, to al-Islam. That's the ultimate blessing. This jealousy of having Islam, we should be proud about that. This kind of pride is not something incorrect. A person can display that blessing that we've been guided to al-Islam. But that doesn't mean that towards our Muslims that we should begin to be oppressive or incorrect and towards those individuals. So that is the aspiration that all of us Muslims should have in those good things, and try to gain those good things to be like those good individuals. And at the same time, ignore the jealous ones. Because we know that the person who has jealousy will just burn away. That is the natural sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And thus we don't want to burn our good deeds away. Because acting upon that jealousy, implementing that jealousy, may Allah forbid make us lose our good deeds until eventually it becomes a bad quality. And thus we find in a hadith inside the Sunnah of Abi Dawood, إِنَّ الْحَسَدْ لَا يَأْكُلُ الْحَسَنَاتِ كَمَا تَأْكُلُ النَّارِ حَطَبٍ. Indeed, jealousy burns away, eats away the good deeds of the individual just like fire chews or burns away at wood. That's what jealousy does. So if a person follows the intuition of jealousy, begins to implement that jealousy, they're going to begin to lose their good deeds. They're going to burn away their good deeds. Whereas if you leave a person in a state of jealousy, they're going to burn away themselves. Inshallah, it won't affect the individual. They'll just carry on burning away inside their rage and their anger, whatever it may be, and then they'll just be finished. So we shouldn't follow the concept of jealousy. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us free from these characteristics and these traits which unfortunately are becoming evident inside our society, in our speech, in our conduct, in the way that we interact with other individuals. It's becoming visible, unfortunately. If we're supposed to be reviving elements of the sunnah, it means reviving everything of the sunnah. Not the external factors. The internal factors are far more important, as we began with, that a person removes these diseases of the heart. Because the diseases of the heart are dangerous diseases. Very dangerous diseases that they begin to develop inside the heart of the individual. The external has no element left. And that is very strange at times. We see individuals externally, they may be in their approach towards the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, but certain internal characteristics, you find a person is shocked that have we really given the correct tarbiyah? Have we really given the right teachings to our Muslim community and our society and our own selves to develop those inner qualities? Then naturally the external qualities become quite easy. Whereas today we find the external qualities are very easy for people to adorn themselves with. But the internal qualities takes a lifetime. Takes a lifetime to begin to try to work upon one's heart. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us all the tawfiq and ability to begin to work upon our hearts, strive to rectify our hearts, and to make us amongst those individuals raised on the day of judgment with a sound and a pure heart, and all of our actions are accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to become amongst those pious and muttaqun, those good individuals. وأقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولجميع المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Barakallahu feekum. That's right. We find that the evil eye is usually that the person, sometimes it could be a jealous eye, that the person could be afflicted in an evil manner. It could be very, very powerful. And sometimes we find this, the person could just look and they have that and they begin to harm the individuals. The most dangerous evil eye is the one which is brought together with jealousy. The person is looking intentionally with a jealous eye, that this person may lose the blessings that they have. Thus we find in certain words of ahadith that the evil eye will even go into the inside of the animal and affect the animal. And that's even generally as Muslims, when we see something which is good, then we should praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. MashaAllah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Any good child that we see, wealth, possession, whatever it may be, we should praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If not, even we may not notice it because we've looked or with that thought in our mind, without praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that eye could affect the individual. And if it's a jealous eye with the intent to cause evil, that could be even more dangerous. And that's the ayah that we mentioned, that these individuals, they want to do what? They want you to slip bi absarihim, with their eyes. So here the ulama mentioned this is the jealousy of the eyes. The evil eye they want to place upon who? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Wallahu a'lam. And we find the context we talk about is Muslims, whereby if Muslims is arguing and you know that the person is on the right, that person will have a house inside paradise. So a person has to look at the context of what's taking place. If it's obviously random, you're walking down the street and someone attacks you for no apparent reason, you don't do as Christians say, they slap you in your right cheek off of your left cheek, they slap you, you slap them back hard so they you feel the pain. So obviously it depends on the situation. At the end of the day, sometimes Muslims become too soft as well, and so obviously one should be vigilant on what the situation is. But at the same time, a person should not exert their force upon a person. The person should be able to control himself. The person does harm them, you're able to control yourself and to deflect that harm. And likewise, if a Muslim, at the end of the day, the better Muslim brother is the one to walk away from another Muslim and to advise them. Inshallah, is the best thing to do. Whatever type of Muslim it may be, a Muslim is a Muslim, and a Muslim's blood is sacred. So we try to exert our efforts to reconcile between people. As the Quran mentions, وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا. If two groups of believers fight, it doesn't say one group are believers and the other disbelievers. Inside Surah Al-Hujurat, it said both are believers. If they fight, what should you do? You should try to reconcile between the two. Unfortunately, too many Muslims want to stir problems. In this case, it's permissible, what they call a white lie, to go and lie to another Muslim, say he spoke well of you, he didn't mean it this way, etc. So when they meet, it reconciles. That's what Muslims should be amongst themselves. So we have friends who may have problems amongst themselves, especially many of the problems they face are what? To do with un-Islamic practices. So one should remove themselves from seeking revenge or any form of harm towards any Muslims, inshallah. Wallahu a'lam. Go ahead, Shaykh, tfaddal. Is there any way? Whatever, if the thoughts, barakallah fiqh, the thoughts are from shaitan, from our own self. Sometimes thoughts can come from a person, just they could see something or do something and thought could come into their mind. And that's as we know towards the end of the final ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, that before the companions were worried that are we going to be taken for the thoughts that come to our mind. And then thus these ayat were sent down, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not place any burden on any soul that it cannot bear. So we find that the thoughts, if you tafsir the final ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, that the thoughts that we have inside our mind, as long as we don't implement them, we will not be held responsible for them. So whether it be thoughts that come from our own self, or from shaitan maybe whispering to us, as long as we don't implement them, then there's no harm upon us. Wallahu alam. As for, can we clearly make a distinction, that maybe at times one can get that feeling, this is maybe shaitan encouraging me to do this, and sometimes that this is my own thoughts that are coming into my mind. Wallahu alam.